They're looking for ways and strategies to bring that very concept back into the classroom because they're seeing that they are not prepared, these kids are not prepared to compete globally. They're not prepared to even work as a collective body in a workforce environment because the lack of collaboration.
And the other thing is they haven't been built up. One thing that I do to build students up is when I walk into a classroom the very first day, I look for that one student that whose self-esteem I know is not as high as it needs to be, who is disruptive, most disruptive, and is more likely to draw the other students into his or her madness. So I target that student. And when I target I target him or her. But I only target one at a time so I can focus. Because once I get that student to be my advocate, then instead of drawing the other students into their madness, he or she will draw them into my class and get engaged in my class. So this is what I do. I focus on that student and to build him up or her up, I compliment them. Not about their clothes or about their hair or their nails. I compliment them first on making it to class that day, for enrolling in this class, for coming to school, for submitting a paragraph, even if it's 3 sentences. And one of those sentences has the correct punctuation. I target that student and build that student up based on what he or she, what I want them to do. However small amount they do, I make it a big thing. And so when I build them up, because they're not used to compliments. They're used to, you didn't write enough. That sentence doesn't have the correct punctuation, and they're used to being beat down. Now it's impossible to have a student in a classroom and you don't have to correct them at some point. So for those students that I target, every time I have to reprimand them or correct them, I owe them 3 compliments. And I keep track of that for those one, two, or 3 ones that need to be built up. Once I build them up and I have them as my advocate, that's all she wrote.
And because you build that one, then you can draw in 2 or 3 after that.
Exactly.
And then and that segues right into African-centered education. Which African-centered education is clearly nothing more than student-centered learning,
as opposed to teacher-centered or administration-centered, which is what it is right now.
It is now. That's why. And that and so with African-centered, it's you take the stance that the knowledge is already there. As facilitators, our job is to pull out. Eurocentric education, they feel is just the opposite. Is to put in because you don't know anything. And that's one of the things that our kids are rebelling against because they're telling us that we do know what they know. It might not be what you know, but we know what we know. So how do you as educators take what we know, you know what I mean, and blend that into what you think that we should know, and then we work collaboratively to make knowledge, or make magic, make something happen.
So you just remind them that they're a genius at rest, and we want them to be the genius at work.
All right.
So that's interesting.
Somebody write that one down.
They got some skills.
They do have some skills. And the things that they've survived, I couldn't have survived. They are intelligent.
They got life skills.
They have really good life skills.
They got problem solving skills.
Which is
all of that.
They have the critical thinking skills that we
more
want to
than what we had
on them
at their age.
Absolutely.
And so how do we,
as we have our families and our support system, and they don't have that, so they have to be critical thinkers in order to survive.
Because you remember, in the kids we're dealing with are mothers, teen mothers, their fathers, they're homeless. They're dealing with all kinds of abuse, all kinds of things.
On a daily basis.
And so how our job, that's why the onus of responsibility really falls back on us, the educator. It is not on the child. It is on us as educators. How do we take this 21st century child
that has changed and evolved.
that has evolved, you know.
Due to the environment that they were born into,
Mhm.
not an environment that they created.
Or chose.
Your chose, right. So how do we become effective educators, you know, for this 21st century child? And the focus is on the child, this 21st century learner. But we really need to, and what we're saying too, really, is that we want to draw the focus into the 21st century educator. Who is that person?
Right.
Because that person has got to evolve and has got to morph into something other than what he or she was traditionally.
That
You know,
means he or she has to be open to learning.
To change.
We have to welcome change,
Yeah.
look for change, and we have to succumb to change,
Yeah.
as opposed to being isolated in our own school buildings all alone. This
Right.
is my classroom.
Mhm.
You can't get in. I'm not sharing information. This is my classroom.
And not open to change and not wanting to build that relationship with the student and listen to them.
Because they will tell you, if you ask a student at the start of the class, what do you want to get out of this?
Yeah.
You're gonna get the normal response. I don't want nothing. I just want to pass or I want to get
I
out.
want to
I want to never have to see no more.
Right.
You're gonna get that.
Right.
But if you keep working with them,
Oh,
yeah.
you know, because
Building them up.
I've taught chemistry, and students will say, well, I'm gonna have to take chemistry. I ain't never gonna use chemistry. I said, wait a minute. How many is the people in your house? 6 of y'all in one house, and we got 1 pack of Kool-Aid. I got this much sugar. How you gonna make that Kool-Aid taste good? Now you know we want a good cup of red Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
We don't even call it strawberry or cherry. We get red. How you gonna do that? And so when they're able to think themselves through that
Yeah.
scenario,
Yeah.
they can give you the
Yeah,
answer.
project-based
They'll work it
learning.
out. They'll work it out.
Project-based learning
You
and
just
project